Okay, so this might sound a little contradictory or hypothetical to what I said in the last question, but my favorite myth is just one that I find really entertaining and is always a fun one to hear and read. As basic as it is, my favorite myth comes from the Norse legends. Yes, Greek and Norse are the most popular myth cultures in the Western world, but I've always gravitated towards the Norse mythos because of my ancestry and my family. My dad's side of the family is almost entirely from Norway, and my family is very proudly Norwegian. Even though they're also very proudly Mormon, my dad and my mom by proxy has always been excited about anything to do with the Vikings in that era. In fact, one of the things that my parents and I bonded over was the Vikings TV show. My dad and I still send each other pictures or articles about Viking and Norse related stuff. Keeps us in touch even when there's several states in between us. But enough background on me. So, what is my favorite Norse myth then? Well, it's Thor and Loki in the land of the Frost Giants. More specifically, it's their adventure into Utgard and their encounter with Utgard Loki. The story is a really cool example of magic and just a building of the world of the gods and the giants. Thor drinks the sea and almost pulls out Jormungandr out of it. Loki has an eating contest against fire, and even a young mortal boy races against thought itself. All of this under the enchantment of a magical giant. I've loved every iteration of it that I've heard over the years, but my favorites are from a book called Tales of the Norse Legends and Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology, and even the fleeting mentions of it in the Vikings TV show. To go a little into why I like this so much, I love The Hobbit. Not the movies, but the book itself. I've listened to various versions of the audiobook dozens of times. The episodic nature of the story has always been really fun for me. Some of that episodicness format is in my other favorite book, American Gods, again by Neil Gaiman. Probably mentioning him a lot throughout this whole series of essays. But mythology in general is always more episodic than like a grand scoping narrative. You have to read in order. The Greek myths can be shortened down so much that they're basically anecdotes, or expanded so much that they could fill entire books and movies worth of content. Same with the Norse, but within this particular myth, it itself is an episodic tale. It begins with Loki and Thor's encounter at a mortal family's home, then their initial meeting with the massive giant, whose glove they sleep in, and their entire visit at Utgard's Loki's hall, and back home. It has the same kind of spirit as The Hobbit, and it's just a really fun ride. But just because my main attraction is entertainment, I can still glean some lessons from the story. The section at the family's home is an example of the value in Norse and Greek cultures of hospitality. Even though the family has little and it's in the middle of winter, they are still willing to provide for the traveling gods. And in thanks for this, Thor sacrifices his own goats to help provide more for their feast. When Thialvi, the son, disobeys Thor's instructions to not break the bones of one of the goats, there are consequences he's willing to take, which is a lesson in following the gods as best we can and taking any consequences we incur. Then, when they're at God Loki's hall, they are shown the same hospitality again, albeit with plenty of ridicule depending on the version you find. And at the end, when Utgard Loki is telling them about the reality of the contest that they did, none of Thor, Loki, or Thialvi beat themselves up or show self-hatred. Instead, they are proud of how well they did, considering the odds. Thialvi is even proud and excited to tell his sister how fast he ran against Thought. So it's both a myth showing the values of hospitality and self-confidence and pride, the good kind. And it's just all around really entertaining to listen to or to read. All in all, I love this myth because it's exciting. It appeals to my love of episodic narratives and has some lessons in it to learn from. If you'd ever want to hear me read a version of this story, let me know. But anyway, thanks for listening.